on him, DJ Kadero. Yeah. Welcome. It is a Reggae Monday here on the Diaspora Show. It's Monday, June 15, 2026. Here on 87.9. How are you guys? How are you guys? How was your guys' weekend? Before we get into that and all the details, I need to let you guys know, if you guys don't already know, how the Diaspora Show works. First, I give you guys the top stories going on in Africa, the Caribbean, and anywhere else that the African diaspora is centered. That's the Diaspora News. After that, I give you guys words of wisdom through the African proverb of the day. No, the African proverb of the day. Looking at... That's words of wisdom, either through an affirmation or a life lesson, huh? Then I give you guys the best beats, the best vibes, the best melodies, the best harmonies. And because I'm one bad DJ, I'm the baddest Afro DJ in the game. And with it being Monday, that means it's Reggae Monday. So I'm spinning all the reggae Caribbean music that your mind and body and soul can handle. And remember, I, Jah Rastafari. Yeah, me off, you know. I mean, come on, huh? How does that sound to you? Does that sound like something that you'd be interested in, huh, Omera? Does it sound like something that you would like? Well, if so, let's get on with the show. Let me start the flow, and let me get in control. All right, let's start with the Diaspora News. Come on.
Live from 879 Studios in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Diaspora News with your anchor, DJ Kadero.
That's me. Let's get into it, big dog. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. Woo! How are you guys? How are you guys? How are you, sir? I'm getting fine, sir. What's up, y'all? What's up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? How was your guys' weekend, huh? Did you guys get into nonsense this weekend? There's a lot of things. Like, this was probably one of the most packed, filled weekends. This is probably the weekend that made me feel like summer's actually here. More than anything, huh? You know, other weekends, you probably don't realize that it's summer because of maybe like the weather. But no, this weekend I was like, okay, yeah. This summer. This is we are officially in summer, and what a moment, man, because the weather was great. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. I don't know where you guys are at as far as in the diaspora, whether you guys are in Africa, the Caribbean, or in the United States. But if you're in the United States, I mean, one thing was important, especially if you're a sports fan, especially if you're a basketball fan. DJ Kadero, what are you talking about? What does that mean? Only one thing matters, right? And that was the, you know what? Before we talk about what exactly I'm referring to, now let's change up the music, huh?
I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Pull me back to that McDonald's. Took it to my stash spot. 560.
Oh my goodness gracious. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah. For those that don't know, the NBA Finals. It came and went with the champions being crowned on a Saturday. Yes. So this past Saturday, yes, the NBA Finals came to an end with the New York Knicks defeating San Antonio Spurs in 5 games. Woo-hoo-wee! Giving that boys a butt kicking. And they came back once again. I think they were down like 15 points. They came back. It seems like the New York Knicks start playing basketball an hour after the game starts, an hour after tip-off. So, man, and so if you are a New York Knicks fan, if you had money on the Knicks, if you're just a fan of any other players, including OG Anunobio, our Nigerian brother, and go ahead and celebrate, man. I know New York City was celebrating this weekend, especially right after the game. I'm sure they'll make announcements when the parade for the NBA champions of 2025-2026 season, the New York Knicks. So whenever the announcement comes, we'll bring it to you guys. I'm sure Mayor Mamdani can't wait to make those announcements, man. But yes, if you want to get in the conversation with me today, not only during the Diaspora News, but during my mixing of Reggae Monday and any of our other programs for personalities and DJs, there's a group chat in the app. Yes, they're in the app, in the group chat tab. Go ahead and click on that and follow the process, and it will allow you to create a username and password for yourself so you can chat with me and any of our other DJs and personalities throughout the week. But yeah, man, come on. So let's go ahead and let's see if anybody greets us in the chat. Not yet. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into the Diaspora News. I know usually I got a different soundtrack for the Diaspora News, but the New York Knicks won, so I can't wait for Wednesday because of me and CJ. You know, we had a wager live on air. We had a wager live on air. So yeah. All right. So a very warm welcome to all of you guys. Listeners of the Diaspora Show. This is the Diaspora News here on 87.9 The Culture, where hip-hop and R&B lives. It's Monday, June 15, 2026. And this is the Diaspora News, your trusted daily source for the stories shaping the African diaspora world. All right, so I got a packed news for you guys today. We're looking at the historic shifting of geopolitical ties between Iran and the United States when they reached a major peace deal. Also, we're diving in political tensions in Central Africa, where massive protests were brought to the capital over possible constitution changes. And then we have your sports roundup. We're breaking down a wild weekend of the World Cup, African and Caribbean teams, and then maybe giving a preview of matchups kicking off later today. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the Mideast, where a peace deal was struck, So in a move that a few saw coming, United States and Iran have officially signed a peace deal. Following days of intense closed-door negotiations, both United States and Iran have agreed to details that would permanently erase decades of hostility towards one another. Under the terms of the deal, Washington, D.C., aka the United States, has committed to lifting heavy economic sanctions that have crippled the Iranian economy for years. In exchange, Iran has agreed to immediately halt its nuclear development program and open its facilities to round-the-clock international inspections. I know. Even me, I'm like, is this gonna last? For more details, we go on the ground. We go to our CBS affiliate. Let's check out the details of the peace deal between Iran and the United States.
And also called out Israel for once again attacking what it says are Hezbollah targets in southern suburbs of Beirut, Lebanon. In separate interviews, he used the F word to convey frustrations with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for launching the strikes just as the U.S. is on the verge of its deal with Iran. CBS's Imtiaz Tayyab is in Tel Aviv tonight with more. Imtiaz?
Ed, good evening to you. Well, this really could prove to be the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in the Middle East in years. The United States and Iran have agreed to end months of conflict, creating a pathway towards a broader agreement over Iran's nuclear program. Now, the deal calls for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy and shipping routes, while the United States is expected to ease some economic pressure on Tehran and extend a ceasefire that has largely held since April. But despite the breakthrough, major questions remain. The agreement is only a framework, with negotiators now facing a 60-day window to tackle the far more difficult issues, including Iran's nuclear activities, sanctions relief, and the future of the Iran-backed groups across the region. And even as the deal was being finalized, Israeli strikes in Lebanon underscored just how fragile this moment remains. Tonight, though, both sides will no doubt be claiming a diplomatic victory. The real test will be whether this agreement can survive the mistrust and violence that have derailed previous attempts at peace. Ed.
And MTS, do we know who exactly the United States is negotiating with on this agreement?
Well, notably, the U.S. isn't negotiating directly with Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, who hasn't been seen or heard from since being appointed. Now, the talks have been conducted through senior Iranian officials, with Pakistan and more recently Qatar helping to mediate. Ultimately, though, any agreement still requires Mujtaba's blessing. So while a memorandum may be signed, the real question is whether the Iranian leadership will remain committed once the harder negotiations begin. Ed.
MTS Tayeb in Tel Aviv. Thank you.
Wait, you don't write anything down after
Once again, if you're just tuning in, I'm DJ Kadero, and this is the Diaspora News segment here on the Diaspora Show on 87.9 of the culture where hip-hop and R&B lives. We're just getting into our first story here on Monday, June 15, 2026. Iran and United States have reached a peace deal. A peace deal. Imagine a peace deal between these two guys that have been fighting. When I say two guys, just the heads of these two nations. Well, actually, these two nations have been at war for decades. But nonetheless, so why does Iran and the United States signing a peace deal, why does it matter to Africa? Mainly because the effects of the war between them has already been hitting the markets. Oil prices in Africa took a sharp dive overnight, meaning they dropped. For non-oil producing nations in Africa like Kenya or South Africa, this is welcoming news that could soon translate to cheaper prices at gas stations. However, for major oil exporters like Nigeria and Angola, it presents an immediate challenge to national budgets. Beyond the economics, this suggests that the diplomacy routes could ease tensions in the Red Sea areas, right? Like, for instance, Yemen is always fighting with Israel. We'll be tracking the economic fallout of this deal throughout the entire week and also keeping you guys updated. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that first story. Again, the United States and Iran have signed a peace deal. One of the details in that deal as well is that there's not going to be any more military strikes in Lebanon, which Israel has been doing. We'll see if Israel holds up on obeying what these demands say. What say you guys? Do you guys think that this deal holds? It's supposed to be signed in person on the 19th, so Friday of this week. We'll see. You know, a lot of things can happen in the next 4 days. All right, let's go ahead and let's get into our second story. We go to Central Africa, specifically the Democratic Republic of Congo, where protests broke out over this weekend. So, turning our focus to the Democratic Republic of Congo, the capital of the country, Kinshasa, was rocked by widespread protests as thousands of citizens flooded the streets to voice their opposition to alleged changes to the nation's constitution. So civil society groups and political opposition groups are calling the government's push to rewrite the law a direct threat to the country's democracy. Critics argue that the proposed amendments to the Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo are a maneuver and designed to pass term limits and extend the president's time in office. What began as peaceful marches quickly escalated into running battles with police, who deployed tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds, protesters responding by blocking major streets and burning tires. Believe it or not, we go on the ground for what exactly had taken place and what does this all mean? Let's take a listen.
Police mobilized heavily to break up the rally in Kinshasa called by a coalition of opposition parties in front of the parliament building. But the gathering quickly degenerated into skirmishes between opposition supporters and pro-government activists, and then with police. Security forces fired tear gas at the some 100-strong cortege of demonstrators. Martin Fayulu, who came second in the 2018 presidential election and third in 2023, was slightly wounded. Fayulu accused the police of working with a youth movement loyal to the ruling party to attack the gathering. In power since 2019, President Felix Tshisekedi comes to the end of his second and final term in 2028 under the current constitution. However, he has recently signaled willingness to change the law to allow him to run for a third term.
Once again, if you're just tuning in, I'm DJ Kadero, your anchor here on the Diaspora News segment of the Diaspora Show. The Diaspora News, where we cover the top stories going on in Africa, the Caribbean, and anywhere else that the African diaspora is centered. Here on 87.9 The Culture, where hip-hop and R&B lives. We're getting into our second story, where protests broke out this past weekend in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Kinshasa. Protesters are angry because they, in opposition of the government, believe that new amendments proposed to the nation's constitution mean that the president would be extending his term. The African Union has issued a statement urging both sides to refrain from fighting. Yes, they're asking even the government to refrain from fighting with protesters and calling for peaceful dialogue to avoid further instability. On the ground, our journalists in Kinshasa reported that while while calm has returned this morning and shops were reopening, armed police presence still remains stationed at key intersections. We'll continue to bring you updates as they come in from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Another country, another government in Africa and in the Caribbean possibly looking to extend power? Or do you think that this is just the opposition making a mountain out of an anthill? That's an African proverb in of itself. You like that? Making a mountain out of an anthill. Let me know. Let me see in the chat if you guys have any thoughts about this story or the first story. Nothing yet, huh? All right, let's go into our last story here on the Diaspora News, here on the Diaspora Show on 87.9 The Culture. All right, so we shift gears to the World Cup, huh? The World Cup opened their games on Thursday, June 11th, 2026 in Mexico City. And then over the weekend, they had games. So football. Yes, I know. If you're in the United States, where I'm at, you probably know it as soccer, but the rest of the world, it was called football. So the rest of the world calls it football. His mom named him Cassius, so I'm going to name him Cassius. So football or soccer fans across Africa and the Caribbean were treated to a masterclass in passion and skills as the qualifying games heats up. Looking back at this weekend action, Senegal put on a dominant performance at home, flexing their tactical muscles and securing 3 vital points. Meanwhile, Nigeria's fans were biting their nails. Huh? How about that? Why? Because they were watching their brothers play. South Africa and Ghana. But enough about me telling it to you guys. How about you guys hear it live from the pitch? Huh? We got the best moments over this weekend of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Let's take a listen.
Real crowd scene in front of Crepo. It's flicked on and in! And Bosnia take the lead! And it comes from a set piece! Bosnia strike first, and it's big Jovo Lukic who scores his first ever international goal on the biggest stage of all in the World Cup finals. It's Canada 0, Bosnia 1.
Yeah, and they get a flick on the near post. Good pass.
Here's Richie Laria, Liam Miller, couple to pick out in the middle. Decided not to take the cross first time. Eustachio plays it on.
Brilliant.
Great chance! Oh, it's brilliant defending. Wonderful from Kolasinac to get it back off his own bar. How on earth was it not one?
From Alex Freeman, nice little cut inside. Here's Christian Pulisic on the ball now. Draws the double team. Splits the double team. Pulisic in the box. Weston McKennie into the middle. It's an own goal. It's the United States on the board. Less than 7 minutes in.
This is just a terrific team move from the U.S. Starting all the way back in their own end. Look at that pass, takes the midfield out of play. McKennie's got options to his right, opts to cut it back. Get it to your man, Christian Pulisic, who can make things happen. 2v1, no problem. Gets defenders off balance, slips it to McKennie. He's trying to cross it over to Balogun in the middle, and it's Bobadilla who ends up putting it into his own net. But that is Weston McKennie, and that is Christian Pulisic. We talk about stars making the game for their team. There's your 2 stars, America.
To do so. Great ball by Robinson for Pulisic on the run. Pulisic trying to cut it back. It's Balogun. That time it's in. That time the flag is staying down. That time it's 2-0 United States.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey! My name is DJ Kadero, and if you're just tuning in, this is the Diaspora News, the segment on the Diaspora Show where we cover the top stories going on in Africa, the Caribbean, and anywhere else that the African diaspora is centered. Here on 87.9 The Culture, where hip-hop and R&B lives. It's Monday, June 15, 2026, and we're covering our third and last story of the day. The best moments of this weekend from the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the world's largest soccer tournament. So one of the host nations, the United States, set a record this weekend with their game against Paraguay. They scored 4 goals to 1. The first time that the U.S. has scored more than 2 goals ever. So yeah, they're pretty happy about that. And the player of the match was Balogun, huh? Folarin Balogun, huh? And they call him Flo. And he was born in Brooklyn, New York, to Nigerian parents. Actually, his story is kind of interesting because he was born in Brooklyn, New York, because his parents were actually visiting from London, England, isn't it? I know, my accent needs work, but his parents, Nigerian parents, were visiting from London, England, and his mom had a sister living in Brooklyn. So when the time came for them to fly back to London, while his mom was pregnant with him, they weren't allowed back into England at the time. They had to wait a little bit. The details are not there yet, but they weren't allowed back into England, and so he ended up being born in Brooklyn. But then after some time, they were allowed to travel back to England, and then he grew up a majority of his youth in London, England. You can actually, this past weekend when he had to give an interview on being the player of the match, the U.S. player of the game, Mr. Folarin Balogun, spoke with a British accent. He sounded like, for those that watch The Wire, it was almost like when you found out that Stringer's character, or Idris Elba's character Stringer from The Wire, had a British accent. So yeah, man, Niger, all my Nigerians, I'm sure, were pretty happy seeing their brother being the player of the match, hitting 2 goals for the United States. All right, let me know what your guys' thoughts are as far as games in the schedule for today. Man, we got a showcase, huh? Two African teams will be playing today. So starting here at 11 a.m. in Central Standard Time, Spain will be playing Cabo Verde. Again, Spain will be, yes. So Spain led by Lamine Yamal. And Cabo Verde, their first time qualifying for the FIFA World Cup. They'll be playing each other here at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then Belgium will play Egypt. Egypt being led by Mo Salah. How do you guys like that, huh? So Belgium and Egypt will play each other at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So Cabo Verde and Spain here in the next half hour at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then Belgium and Egypt will play at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. As far as the rest of the games for today, Saudi Arabia will play Uruguay at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then Iran will play New Zealand at 8 p.m. How you guys like that, huh? Let me know what your guys' thoughts. Let me know what teams you guys have been cheering for. I know that you guys are African Diaspora, but maybe you weren't cheering for African Diaspora. Maybe, just maybe, huh? Let me know. Let me know. All right, how about this? It's a lot of news, especially for the morning, and maybe, just maybe, you guys are getting ready to watch Spain against Cabo Verde here in the next half hour, wherever it is that you're at. How about this? I'll give you guys a music break, and when we come back, we'll have an African proverb of the day. Do I even know where it's from? It's from Ghana, specifically the Akan people. So what we'll do is we'll go to a music break, and when we come back, we'll have words of wisdom. It might even be a life lesson or an affirmation. Who knows? It's Monday, June 15th, 2026, here on 87.9, The Culture, where hip-hop and R&B lives. I'm DJ Kadero. This is the Diaspora Show. Once again, congratulations to the New York Knicks 2025-2026 NBA World Champions. I mean, it kind of matches up what I got for you guys as far as a music break. It's Monday, so that means it's Reggae Monday. So there's going to be a Caribbean feel to this music break. So that's number one. Number two, New York Knicks won. And one native New Yorker, well, I guess you could say native or, raised in New York. This rapper teamed up with a Caribbean Jamaican artist, a Jamaican reggae dancehall singer. And they made one hell of a record in the 90s. Can you guys guess on what it is? Again, I'm talking about a guy. This rapper hails from, it's a country in Central America, but it's part of the Caribbean community. The country that I'm referencing is called Belize. He was born to Belizean parents, and his parents and family migrated to the United States, Brooklyn to be specific. And he teamed up with a legendary reggae dancehall artist. This song and the video was shot in New York City. And then I think they shot parts of it also in Jamaica. So we're going to give you guys a music break. I'm sure many of you are probably still guessing on what exactly this music break is. It's just one song. When we come back, we'll have the African proverb of the day. I'm DJ Kadero. This is the Diaspora Show. Congratulations to the New York Knicks. Let's go to New York.